Barkha Dutt, so good to see you. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
So, of course, I want to talk all about this catastrophe as it's hitting India, your home country. But just a few days ago, you lost your father to coronavirus. So, first of all, my apologies. My heart goes out to you. Can you talk a little bit about him and what happened?
Yeah. In fact, Ian, when you reached out, my father was ill, but like many other people, I was hopeful that he would recover. We'd been told that this was a treatable illness for the most part, that more people recovered than did not, and I was trying to keep calm about it. Because I am relatively an Indian of privilege, I have access to private medical care. We had a team of excellent doctors monitoring him, but at home, like many elderly people, he was scared to go to hospital. He thought, he may never make it back alive. He didn't want to be alone in what he feared might be his final hours. As it turned out, and as so often happens with COVID-19 cases, and we're seeing a lot of this with the second wave in India, he suddenly deteriorated. And on the day that he deteriorated and we realized that we'd have to take him to hospital, the hospital is an hour away from where we live. And I rushed around to try and find an ambulance. The ambulance that arrived was really a rickety old second-hand car, a van that had been repurposed as an ambulance. It did not have any paramedics. It had a crew of one, a driver. It had a single cylinder. The driver assured me it would work. I was too panicked. I jumped onto the front seat, my dad at the back. The ambulance snarled through traffic. We do not even have a green corridor, despite plaintive pleas to the cops here to allow a free sort of passage for ambulances. We do not have that. And as we raced to the hospital, by the time we reached the hospital, we found that the cylinder had not worked in this private ambulance, nothing to do with the hospital. And when we reached the hospital told us that he'd have to be wheeled straight into ICU.
The cylinder, the oxygen cylinder
In the ambulance.
And how long did it take the ambulance to show up from when you called?
It took about an hour for the ambulance to show up, and then an hour's ride to the hospital. And in that snarly traffic, even though there's a curfew and a lockdown, no oxygen as it should have been functioning. Dangerous drop. He gets wheeled into ICU. He ends up on a ventilator swiftly. I'm haunted by his last words. He said, "I'm choking, please treat me." He believed in science. He believed in the medicines. The doctors did their best, but that one ambulance ride haunts me. I just feel like that played with his life. And the nightmare didn't end then, Ian. We went to cremate him. I must tell you that I've personally been reporting on how cremation grounds across India are running short of space. It isn't just the hospitals that are overrun. When we went to cremate my dad, there were 4 other families who had arrived at the same time in the exact spot we were supposed to cremate him. There was an argument, there was a fight. We had to seek the help of the police just to cremate my father. And it was like becoming the story that I report. That said, it's crushing for me, and I don't even know how I'm keeping calm talking to you, but I want to underline that I'm cognizant that I'm luckier than most. Yes, I lost my father. Yes, I'm an orphan. My mom died when I was in my teens. But I think of the people I meet outside the hospitals that have shut their doors to this country's poor, who do not have access to the medical care that my father had, who do not have an opportunity to even fight for their lives, who do not have any of the privileges that I had and I tried to give to my father. And I think of them, and I've said this before, as the orphans of the Indian state. And so while I'm crushed, the reason I'm talking and the reason I'm sharing his story is because it's necessary, even in this midst of personal tragedy, to be aware that the calamity all around me is so much worse for hundreds of thousands of Indians.